All right. Alors, bonjour tout le monde. Merci, merci d'être venu pour cette petite conférence de presse. Et soyons clairs, ce n'était pas le chalet de mes grands-parents. C'est pas du tout. Alors, quelques mots. Tout d'abord, évidemment, pour moi, il y a des aspects de cette visite qui sont très personnels, très émotifs, de voir la terre de mes ancêtres, la tombe de mes arrière-grands-parents et de rencontrer mes cousins et cousines. Et il y en a plusieurs, comme j'ai découvert. Mais au fond, c'est pour le Canada, il y a des messages plus fondamentaux et plus généraux. C'est un exemple de l'histoire des Canadiennes et Canadiens. Oui, un des peuples fondateurs sont des peuples autochtones, mais plusieurs Canadiens, la plupart des Canadiens, la moitié des Canadiens, sont des immigrants ou sont des familles des immigrants de Saint-Malo, de Mumbai, de Mayo, ici en Irlande. Et cette visite, au fond, pour le gouvernement du Canada et pour le Canada, c'est un exemple des relations étroites entre le Canada et l'Irlande et le Canada et l'Union européenne. On a fait beaucoup de progrès hier avec le Taoiseach irlandais et on espère de faire plus de progrès la semaine prochaine au G7 avec nos homologues. So I'll just say, and then pleased to take your questions. I mentioned, obviously, this is a personal aspect of this visit, which is very touching for me and powerful for me. But what I'd like to focus on just in my remarks is what this represents for Canada. We're a country of three founding peoples, Indigenous peoples, the French, the British, but also a nation of immigrants. And in various ways, the story, my family story, is played out across families that came from, whether in the last few months from Mumbai or centuries ago from Saint-Malo or indeed from County Mayo. And the focus of this visit the last 2 days, 24 hours, has been further strengthening the relationship between Canada and Ireland. There are many levels, from cultural to economic, as well as our relations with the European Union. And I'm just going to, give me the liberty here, I'm going to quote, before taking questions, just a couple of lines from the poem that I was given. It's been a long time since I've been given a poem. This may be the last poem I'm given, or at least the last one that I'm going to want to read that I'm given. But a poem that I was given because I think it's instructive how the world views our country. And so just a few lines from Gary Reedy's poem. We look to Canada, as we've done before, to protect the hard lessons gleaned from the rubble, to reset the world as it slowly forgives, to defend civilized values despite the struggle, so we can all resume living our sacred, ordinary lives. And that's what people want in Ireland. That's what people want in Canada. That's what people want around the world, is to live their ordinary lives as they see fit without the intrusion of shocks from abroad. And that's what we're working towards. Et avec tout cela, je suis prêt pour votre question. I'm ready for your questions. Thank you.
How you doing? Rob Gillies from AP. So as of now, Trump only has one bilateral with one G7 leader, that's Macron.
Yeah.
Do you expect him to have the headspace to talk about trade in Canada, and do you think there'll be a meeting?
I think the principal discussions on trade are going to be held between Minister LeBlanc, our chief negotiator, Janice Charette, and their counterpart, Jameson Greer, Ambassador Greer, Secretary Bessent. There'll be the principal aspects. This G7 is going to have as often happens with G7s, a very heavy geopolitical element to it, given very fluid events in the Gulf, And I would say, as we, on this fine day, trending in a positive direction, but one cannot take anything for granted, as well as Ukraine. Obviously, President Zelensky will be there, and a host of other important issues from global imbalances, which you don't have as a discussion just amongst bilaterally. You have to have it multilaterally, as well as AI safety. So I think the principle, to come back to the core of the answer, the principal discussions, our expectation, this is kind of in many respects the right way to do it at this stage, will be between the principal negotiators, which is going to happen en avion.
En français, s'il vous plaît.
En français, j'attends à ce que les discussions commerciales entre le Canada et les États-Unis soient entre la négociatrice en chef, Janice Charette, et le ministre Leblanc, et leur homologue qui est ambassadeur Greer, parce que le G7 va mettre l'accent sur des enjeux géostratégiques, y compris le Moyen-Orient, l'Ukraine et les déséquilibres mondiaux, ce qui est fondamental, une issue multilatérale, c'est pas bilatéral, et les développements dans l'intelligence artificielle.
Prochaine question, next question.
Oui, bonjour, Monsieur Carney. Laurence Martin de Radio-Canada. Mais justement, pour poursuivre sur ce thème-là, je voudrais vous entendre sur le conflit en Iran, parce qu'au départ, M. Trump avait dit que ça va durer quelques semaines seulement. Là, on voit que ça dure depuis plusieurs mois.
Ouais.
On voit des impacts économiques aussi néfastes partout à travers le monde. Est-ce que vous pensez que c'était une erreur de la part du président américain d'aller en Iran comme ça?
Nous sommes où nous sommes. Premier point, on est le monde est dans cette situation. Ce qui est important est de réduire la menace nucléaire de l'Iranienne, de réduire la menace iranienne par rapport à leurs voisins et de rétablir une marge de stabilité. Ça va prendre du temps, une marge de stabilité dans les marchés pétroliers et des marchés, d'autres marchés de produits de base. Alors, c'est pas le temps de réfléchir, de le passer. Le président a pris ses décisions. Nous sommes dans cette situation. Et les Iraniens ont fait pendant des décennies des menaces. Alors, nous sommes dans cette situation. Il y a une possibilité qui existe, qui augmente, d'une cessez-le-feu. Et selon moi, je crois que selon le président, selon les autres dirigeants de G7, les autres dirigeants de la région, il faut travailler honnêtement et sincèrement de renforcer cette possibilité de la paix.
Prochaine question, next question.
Juste continue, madame.
Juste une relance, puis ensuite, vous ne pensez pas, parce qu'il y a plein de Canadiens qui disent, moralement, c'est complètement inacceptable ce que M. Trump a fait en Iran?
Le choix moral maintenant est d'arrêter le conflit. Et ça, c'est l'objectif du Canada, c'est d'arrêter le conflit et de renforcer la possibilité d'un cessez-le-feu et, après un certain temps, de la paix dans la région en entier, y compris le Liban. If I may, in English, we take the situation where we are today and look forward from that. I'm going to combine the answers. The moral choice is to do everything we can to establish a ceasefire and build that into a durable ceasefire and ultimately peace in the region, including Lebanon. Canada will do whatever we can in order to support that. Part of supporting that, of course, is to reduce the threats from Iran and its proxies against its neighbors, and that's a broad definition, as well as the nuclear threats. So there are encouraging signs as we meet here today, and I think the responsibility of the G7 is, and the other actors who are coming, regional powers who are coming, is to do what we can to build on that progress that has been established.
Prime Minister Michael Couture with CTV News. Despite what you mentioned in your preamble about what you've been able to accomplish on this leg of the trip, there has been criticism from the leader of the opposition saying that the what Canada already has a trade deal with Ireland, and what you're doing on this leg of the trip is not at all helping Canadian workers whose jobs are affected by tariffs from the United States. I wanted to get your response to that.
Well, we have a couple of things. We have a trade deal with Ireland, but we don't have full ratification of the trade deal with Ireland. So one of the things that, and I want to commend the Taoiseach and the government for putting this in place, is that both houses of the Irish legislature have now ratified that deal. Now, ratification provides additional certainty. It provides additional mechanisms for the long term in terms of that. That's the first point. The second is that we are not satisfied with the status quo. Maybe the leader of the opposition is, but we're not satisfied with the status quo. We see a significant opportunity with Ireland, more broadly with the European Union, to deepen our commercial relationships with them. And I speak more in this regard with respect to the European Union than Ireland, given Ireland's neutrality, but with the European Union, to broaden our security relationships, defense and security relationships. Ireland will be president of the European Union for the next starting from Canada Day. It's a crucial time in that regard, and they're putting the focus on, during that period of time, competitiveness. That means deeper commercial relationships is one aspect. Reducing red tape is another aspect as part of that. And it also putting a focus on security and values and the link between those. So it comes together at a time where there's an enormous opportunity. And I would remind that the scale of this economy, the European economy, is absolutely enormous. This is an economy of more than 400 million people. It's one of the richest economies, and it is underpenetrated by Canadian businesses. Now, one of the reasons why that is, in fact, you can do different analyses of this, but directionally, the opportunity for Canada in Europe is as big as if not bigger than any other economy. Now, to explain to the Leader of the Opposition, who will try to clip that and not follow through, add this. Opportunity means what more? What more can you get? How more can we grow from where we are today? And the fact is, it can be measured in hundreds of billions of dollars of opportunity that we have not, as a country, fully taken advantage of. And by deepening our relationships, by making it simpler to do business in Ireland, in Europe, we create enormous opportunity for Canadian jobs. I will just underscore two recent examples. One, OpenText, 2 days ago. 100 million investment here, which ultimately benefits a great Canadian company in integration. And then the $18 billion purchase of Airbus planes manufactured in Quebec. That's because of our fluid relationship with Europe, our seamless relationship with Europe, that we can be that competitive in it. And there are many, many more examples of that.
En français, sur le petit message à M. Poilievre par rapport à l'opportunité.
L'opportunité, c'est pas le statu quo. L'opportunité, c'est une question d'augmenter, d'avoir d'ambition, de reconnaître une des plus grandes économies du monde, et que le Canada est plus fort quand le Canada est diversifié, mieux diversifié. Et la plus large occasion, il y a des grandes occasions pour la diversification. Les plus grands, c'est la Chine? Well, non, pas nécessairement, parce que ce n'est pas. On ne désire pas d'avoir une relation commerciale avec la Chine tout ouverte. Selon le gouvernement, peut-être M. Poilievre le veut. Il y a l'Inde. Et nous sommes en train de poursuivre un accord de libre-échange avec l'Inde. On fait beaucoup de progrès. C'est très encourageant. Et il y a l'Union européenne. Okay. On fait des progrès maintenant. Okay.
Last question, dernière question.
Hello, Prime Minister. David Cochran with CBC News. Yesterday at Trinity College, in the conversation after your speech, you said that one of the consequences of the rupture in the global order was that AI is essentially being developed in an unregulated environment in many ways. Yep. And you outlined the human risk and the structural risks that were there. The United States has just blocked access to Anthropic's latest AI models to foreign nationals and foreign countries. Well, what message should Canadian companies, European companies who may have been building out their businesses, wanting to rely on American tech, take from that? What is your response on behalf of the Canadian government, and how do you address this at the United Nations, where AI is going to be, at the G7?
At the G7. I would suggest let's start with the G7 before we go to the United Nations. Well, thank you, David, for the questions. This is an incredibly important issue. I'm hopeful we will make some progress on the issue at this G7. I commend President Macron for putting it foursquare and on the agenda. I don't think there will not be a mission accomplished banner that comes out of the G7 because the issues are complex, they're multifaceted, but we need to make some progress on them, and that's Canada's intention, and I think people are coming with the spirit of goodwill. That's the first point. Second point, if I speak specifically to the issue you raised with Mythos and Fable, Anthropic models, I'll say the following. We are in contact with our American colleagues. There's good flow of information there. There are some risks that they have identified, and I understand, the American authorities taking those risks seriously. Which is why they've taken a step. And it shows to the core of your question the risks that we all are running, even with the best intentions, how fast AI is developing, and for it to evolve in an uncoordinated fashion. So the question is, where do we go from here? And what does a country like Canada do? What does the European Union do? UK and others? Well, again, you're going to hear me say this over and over again because it's true. It is never a good idea to have one option. It is never a good idea to have one option. If I took one lesson from the financial crisis, is we had a series of financial institutions which were linked up in one way. And as soon as one of them started having problems, you feared that everybody was about to have problems. And I say this in Ireland, which suffered greatly from that. We have similar things in terms of model risk. If you only have one large language model and a reliance on that, you can have it in intelligence, infrastructure, and other aspects. So how do we move from where we are today, where there's lots of promise around this, but how do we move from where we are today, where there is redundancy, there's diversification from our perspective? I'll take two more quickly. I'll try and be quick because you've got the sun, and I worry about you invested it. But so how do we diversify and build that out? For us, that means that partnering. Again, this is where it comes in, why it's important. So. We have the capability, not just ourselves, but especially ourselves plus a few other like-minded, to build some redundancy in that system. And this is a much longer conversation, obviously, but that's part of the reason why we're so focused on building out these relationships with the French. President Macron and I spent 45 minutes on this issue in quite some depth on Friday night. It's been part of the discussions here. It'll be part of the discussions with the European presidents on Monday afternoon, I guess, whenever I'm seeing them tomorrow, I guess. So to be continued, I'm happy to have the discussion. I guess I would just leave it with this point, which is that the situation we're in collectively right now with Mythos and Fable and is something that can happen with over-reliance on certain models or certain protections. That doesn't ascribe nobody's done anything wrong in this situation. But we will have done something wrong if we just accept this, don't take the lesson, don't build out and diversify. And you can make an analog to Canada's overall economic situation. We will be doing something wrong if we just sit here and say, to go back to, I think, the very first question, well, why would you come and deepen your trade relationship with Europe? Well, because we don't want to have just one big trade relationship. That's better for Canadians. No, sorry.
Hi, Catherine Morrison with the Canadian Press, and I don't want you to worry, I have been applying sunscreen today.
It's good. Your parents have been on the line and they've been concerned.
You said yesterday that the strands of a new world order could be woven at the G7, and you've previously also said that the new world order will be built out of Europe. I'm just wondering, what is the role and how do you see the U.S. fitting into that new world order?
I think it's. I think the way I'd phrase it, which is the same for the United States and European Union, Korea, other countries will be around, Brazil, be around the table, the Gulf states, is what are you for? What are you opting in for? What do you want to build out? Do you, to Mr. Cochrane's question just now, do we take this risk seriously around AI and AI infrastructure? So do you want to be part of the solution for that? Some of us will take Canada very much at the forefront. Will take child safety seriously and feel that laissez-faire is not the answer to child safety. And so we will take steps. Not everyone around that table will. In some of those circumstances, the United States will be foursquare behind and in many cases lead, but not all. And so what one can't do at this point in a rapidly shifting world order is to rely on one set of institutions, one grouping, one country to provide the answers. You have to know what you want, what you need, how you serve your citizens, and then go out and get it. Sur quel aspect, madame?
Sur votre stratégie au G7, oui.
La stratégie au G7, l'approche c'est le variable geometry, en effet. C'est des coalitions ad hoc. C'est pas la même coalition chaque fois sur chaque enjeu, sur chaque atout stratégique. Alors le Canada cherche des partenaires, on trouve des partenaires, on trouve beaucoup de partenaires. Et si je peux finir avec le poème de monsieur, le Canada, le monde, en français, le monde regarde au Canada, okay? Comme dans le passé. Alors, c'est pas facile, mais il y a des occasions, il y a plusieurs occasions d'avoir des partenariats sur des enjeux qui sont les plus importants pour les Canadiens et les Canadiens. Parfait.
Dernière question,
alors,
last
merci.
question.
Oh, OK. Oui.
Hi, Prime Minister.
Vous êtes en charge? Oui. Hi, Kate.
Kate McKenna, CBC News. On Friday, there was some reporting in both CBC and the New York Times that NATO, or that rather the U.S. is planning to potentially pull a third of the fighter jets on offer to Europe for NATO in the coming months. I'm just wondering what's your reaction to that?
I confess that's I hadn't seen that reporting. You mean a third of the prospective future fighter jets, not the U.S. deployment of fighter jets in.
I think it's actually the existing.
The existing deployment. Is that it? Sorry, David.
From 150 to 100, and there's
Of the existing U.S. deployment is the reporting. Well, okay. So the first aspect of my answer is I don't know, because obviously I hadn't even read the story, nor had I had a discussion or, to my knowledge, have the Minister of National Defense or Chief Defense Staff had discussions within a NATO context of a potential, I'll call it a redeployment from the U.S. What I do know is that all NATO members, Canada included, need to take more and more responsibility for their defense. We also, and this is where it gets sensitive, taking responsibility for our defense, taking responsibility for Arctic, our coastlines, etc. Yes, absolutely. More and more share of the responsibility for the defense of our allies. We are prepared to do that within an ally context, so not on our own, not bilaterally. And you will have seen that we've stepped up with in the Baltics, in Latvia, in Operation Reassurance. We're obviously stepping up with the Arctic. In the Arctic, we're stepping up with a prudent, pragmatic, but significant increase in our defense spending. I expect the NATO leaders meeting in the middle of July to focus on aspects of this burden sharing. And Canada is beginning to and willing to take more of our responsibility, certainly first and foremost at home, but where we can be most effective within NATO. And I'll finish on this, which is particularly in the Arctic-Baltic corridor. I don't mean exclusively, but there are a lot of synergies. And again, if someone's wondering why we've been spending a lot of time with the Norwegians, the Germans, the Baltic states, the Swedes, the Finns, and the French actually as well, and UK, I'm sorry, is that all of those nations within NATO actually play an important role. So if we're going to do this right and do it effectively, it means more intensive cooperation amongst that group of countries. Denmark, I'm sorry, I apologize to Denmark, that group of countries within a NATO context. So that's strategically or directionally is where things are going. Okay, great. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. This concludes our press conference. Ceci conclut notre conférence de presse.